Today's passage gave birth to the saying, "Even the devil can quote Scripture." Even the devil can quote Scripture. For after fasting for 40 days and 40 nights, out in the wilderness, Jesus confronts an evil spirit which uses the Hebrew Scriptures to tempt him, test him, trick him. Even the devil can quote Scripture. The intent with which Scripture is used is at least as powerful, and it is equally important as to the actual words of Scripture. The intent behind it is as powerful as the actual words. When someone is quoting the Bible, I think it's always healthy, important, wise to ask ourselves, why is the Bible being invoked in this moment? Why Scripture? Why now? Is it to deepen a relationship? To explore another way of seeing the world? Is it something designed to help us remember where we have been as a people and whom God calls us yet to be? Or is the Bible being used as a weapon to attack someone or a group of people? A knife designed to cut and separate the supposedly good from the supposedly bad? Is it a threat that is being used to send someone cowering back into conformity? Why Scripture? Why now? I've experienced both sides of that coin. I'm sure all of us have. Preachers and professors and friends and family and confirmation students and many others have taught me about the beauty of God's steadfast love, found in the Scriptures and the stories of the Israelites. The Hebrew Scriptures, our Old Testament, repeatedly shows how the chosen people's mistakes had consequences in their lives. And it led them to create unjust societies. And yet each time, when it seemed like all was lost, God's steadfast love restored them and granted them new life. The entire Old Testament can be viewed as a resurrection story, an epic tale of people and societies dying, only to be raised in new life through God's steadfast love. And it's healthy for us Christians to be reminded of that part of our story, to have Scriptures shared that help us see that even when we mess up and are left struggling with the consequences, we are always restored by God who knows us and still chooses to love us, warts and all. But I've also had Scripture thrown at me as a weapon, designed to crush me, make me question my worth in God's eyes. Because the Bible tells me so, it has been used to give credence to slavery and bigotry, to sexism and supremacy, to crusades and child abuse, to inquisitions and genocide. And if all of those seem too big or too distant to us in our lives today, well, then this couple days ago we find the Christian televangelist Rick Wiles, pastor at Flowing Streams Church in Vero Beach, Florida, blaming the coronavirus on transgender children and atheists. The same Bible which we use to lift one another up in love, to confront the grieving, to remind us of where we have been and whose we are, is also being used to bully and shame and attack people. It's a trick, trying to trick us into believing that everything is all our fault, that we're getting what we deserve, that God only helps those who help themselves, and all sorts of other lies. Anyone can quote Scripture, Even the devil can quote Scripture. Understanding why they are quoting Scripture is as important as the words themselves. I, and probably many of us, get hung up on the devil language in this passage. I don't believe in a little horned man in a red suit with a tail and a pitchfork. That is archaic for me. But I do know people who try to trick or tempt or attack me. And I know that little voice in my own head that sometimes whispers and sometimes shouts hateful words at myself. The cartoon devil is just a cartoon. But evil is real. After 40 days alone, 40 days fasting, going without food, the voice is apparently there for Jesus too. He's tired. He's hungry. He's weak. Maybe he's a little hangry, anxious to leave the wilderness. A certain Disney song reminds us that people make bad choices when we're mad or scared or stressed. And that's also when the voices that use Scripture as a weapon are at their most powerful, when we are mad or scared or stressed. The evil spirit says to Jesus in his hunger, "If you are the Son of God, command these stones to become loaves of bread." That's what God had done when the Israelites were starving in the wilderness. The stones had become manna from heaven. And the evil spirit says to Jesus in his weakness, "If you are the Son of God, throw yourself down from the pinnacle of the temple. For it is written, he will command his angels concerning you, and the Scriptures say, on their hands they will bear you up." And the evil spirit says to Jesus, in his desire to leave the wilderness, "Look at the kingdoms of the world in all their splendor. All these I will give to you." All of these would have been good things. Jesus providing unlimited bread for the world and eliminating hunger would be good. Jesus invoking the power of God to save us from the consequences of our worst decisions, that would be good. Jesus in his love as the head of all lands of the world, that would be good. Jesus is being tempted by good things. But the devil is using these Scriptures to try to trick him. Will Jesus truly be human? Will he truly accept that there are things beyond human control? And bigger yet, this evil trickster is quoting Scripture to try to force Jesus to be someone different than whom God has called him to be. That's the devil's work. Sometimes found in that quietly persistent voice in our head which says that we are worthless or unlovable or deviant. Sometimes found in outside voices which try to convince us that we're deformed or defective by throwing Scripture at us. Or if it works better for you, it can even be read as a red-horned entity with a tail and pitchfork that tempts us to deny who we truly are and whom God has created us to be. However it comes into our lives, it's the devil's work. At the end of the story, we're told that the devil left him. It's good news for Jesus, of course, and it's good news for us that there is an end to the tormenting, that evil spirits do leave, bullying ends, hateful voices fall silent, things get better. Counselors and communities and churches and families and medications and friends. They are God's angels who come and wait on us and protect us and resurrect us. But even at the end of the story, there's still a catch. The devil, we are told, left Jesus, but evil never left the world. There is still evil which confronts us when we are mad or scared or stressed. There are still internal voices which tempt and sow seeds of doubt about our self-worth. And yes, the devil is still out there, trying to trick people while quoting Scripture. Amen.